Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, sahabat Islam semuanya. Mualafnya orang Filipina menjadi berita yang entah mengapa membuat hati kita ikut senang. Hal ini karena ketika berbicara menyangkut Filipina, negeri itu adalah negeri yang penduduk aslinya adalah rumpun Melayu, tapi seolah-olah sudah hilang hubungannya dengan orang-orang Melayu di negara lainnya. Ini disebabkan ras Melayu dulunya identik dengan negeri-negeri Muslim yang dipimpin oleh raja atau sultan dan mayoritas penduduknya adalah Muslim. Sementara Filipina kini adalah negara dengan penduduk Katolik terbesar di Asia. Setelah beberapa abad silam penjajah Spanyol membuat nenek moyang mereka untuk murtad. Di sini Melayu yang dimaksud adalah sebagai ras, bukan etnis atau suku.
In 1521, when Magellan landed in Leyte, he planted the cross of Christianity, but also claimed ownership and possession of the entire island. But that was 1521. 70 years for the Moros scholars have been 1 century. I also had did a research. 70 years before Magellan, Islam was already planted here. Nandito na yung mga evangelist. So when Spain said, kunin ko pati Mindanao, and I would call everybody, the natives there, our forefathers, I would call them Filipino to honor King Philip. Doon ang si Magellan nagtatrabaho.
Islam was first brought by Arab traders in the late 13th and early 14th centuries. 200 years before the Spanish invasion, these Muslim merchants originally came from present-day Malaysia and Indonesia. They landed in Sulu Islands and preached Islam to the indigenous population and built the first mosque in the Philippines in the town of Sibunol in Tawi-Tawi in the mid-14th century. The Islamic propagation reached as far as the Kingdom of Tondo in current-day Manila in Luzon in the northern Philippines. It is notable to see that there was no clear record of armed conquest made by the Muslims against the local people, and it seemed that they embraced Islam voluntarily. Muslims believe that the past Muslims were invited into Islam by the good manners possessed by the preachers towards Islam. Different states and colonies embraced Islam without being subjugated by a Muslim military. As time went on, the Muslims prospered under these Muslim states, which had trade relations with nearby islands and even far-off countries like India and China. By that time, the Philippines does not exist yet as a country, rather as a group of islands where different sultanates rule over different lands, where many of these are Muslim governments. The first attempt to conquer the Philippines was made by a Portuguese sailor working for Spain named Ferdinand Magellan in 1521. He is also known for leading the fleet of ships that is first to circumnavigate the world. He was able to convert some people to Christianity, according to historians, but he failed in Christianizing and conquering Mactan and Cebu in the central Philippines, when a local Muslim chieftain, Lapu-Lapu, led a counterattack against the superior fighting force of the Spaniards, who were armored and wielded firearms. Lapu-Lapu led a group of warriors armed with machetes, sword, and bamboo spears and fought the well-armed and armored conquerors on the seashore. Lapu-Lapu killed Ferdinand Magellan, thus earning himself the title as the first Filipino freedom fighter. Lapu-Lapu is continually remembered today by having his silhouette used by the Philippine National Police in their official seal as a sign of bravery. When the Spanish returned to the Philippines in the mid-1500s, after the failure of Ferdinand Magellan to conquer Cebu, they conquered Manila, where they encountered more Muslims under the leadership of Raja Sulaiman, whose castle stood in the area, now known as Intramuros. This discovery led them to call the Filipino Muslims as Moros, which is in reference to the Moors who occupied Spain for more than 800 years, whom they have recently conquered by invading Andalus or Muslim Spain. In 1575, the Spanish started spreading Catholicism in the Philippines through the use of missionaries. But These missions are often accompanied also by conquest and invasion, where the vanquished Filipinos are subjected to forced labor and other cruelties. This has been recorded in history as an era of human rights abuse that even the non-Muslim freedom fighters and the intellectuals like Jose Rizal and Andres Bonifacio tried to address. Though much of the Philippines converted, the Moros, however, stood firm in their faith. Great Muslim leaders such as Sultan Kudarat of Mindanao and Raja Sulaiman of Manila continued the legacy of Lapu-Lapu in their fight for freedom. Upon the fall of Muslim territories in Luzon and Visayas in the central Philippines, most Muslims fled to the Muslim strongholds in the area that is now known as Muslim Mindanao or Bangsamoro.
Walaupun penduduk Filipina kemudian mengalami asimilasi dengan Spanyol dan Tiongkok pada era kolonialisasi, namun moyang mereka tetaplah orang-orang Melayu. Pada saat salah seorang Filipino, orang Filipina, menganut Islam, maka mereka sebenarnya sedang kembali, revert, kepada agama Tauhid yang dianut oleh nenek moyang mereka. Tapi sebelum Islam datang, bukankah penduduk Filipina sudah lebih dulu menganut kepercayaan lain seperti animisme, Hindu, dan Buddha? Mengapa mengaku-ngaku Islam sebagai agama nenek moyang mereka? Memang benar, tapi penduduk di Kepulauan Filipina saat itu meninggalkan agama lama mereka dan kemudian berpindah keyakinan ke agama Islam secara sukarela, tanpa paksaan dan intimidasi.
So, nauna dito ang Islam. Galit sila sa gobyerno ng Spain, then America took over. And until now, they think that this is an extension of the imperialist government.
Wallahu a'lam bissawab.